Good night, I'm Faye Sealy and welcome to Final Score, our weekly sports show where we'll talk about the headlines and newsmakers of the weekend sports. Tonight, Phil Simmons' resignation as CWI head coach. It means back to the drawing board with new leadership for the Windies cricket team. And we'll also have some netball, a review of the recent World Cup qualifier, and how can the Bajan Gems be more competitive at the international level? Well, we'll have answers for that question. But first, to the big news of the week. Windies head coach Phil Simmons being the first casualty of the World Cup failure, even if his casualty is self-inflicted. In a letter to Cricket West Indies, Simmons said his decision is not really a knee-jerk reaction, but a move he had been considering for some time. He'll be stepping down as the West Indies head coach at the end of the Test series against Australia. That series runs from the 30th of November to the 12th of December. And, well, this is earlier than he had hoped for. Simmons said he will now focus his energies in Australia on continuing to build on the excellent progress the Test team has made. Simmons is still expected to participate in that review of the Windies World Cup campaign. Can't wait for that post-mortem. Well, joining me live to look at a possible way forward, as you see me in my Combermere tie. I'm not really wearing ties in this show, but it's all about up and on, not only for Combermere, but for West Indies cricket as well. And that's why we have former all-rounder Ian Bradshaw on the show tonight. Of course, you, our viewers, can make your contributions and answer your questions as well via social media. WhatsApp the number 228-5562, while the Facebook handles are CBC Barbados or cbcnews.bb. You can also call us live. 228-5562 is the number. Good night, Ian, and welcome to Final Score. Let's start our discussions with some of those likely candidates. We're not even focusing on what went wrong yet. Let's talk about the future. Some of those likely candidates you may see for head coach, that position of head coach.
Good night, Shane. Such a pleasure to be on your show. As you said, difficult time for West Indies cricket.
Indeed.
Difficult time for every West Indian fan. We prided ourselves with the fact that we were double World Cup winners, and even though that we knew that going into this tournament is going to be an uphill task, just it's a bitter pill to swallow, thinking that we couldn't even make it into the main round. As you quite rightly said, a lot of questions to be answered, and now is the time. We got to be honest with ourselves. We weren't up to international standard, and I guess it bears the fact that having to get into a qualifying round and then having to try to come out of that sport to where we were, and it's really sad to see us losing to those emerging teams. But West Indies cricket is about resilience, and I want a hard review of West Indies cricket so that we can make the West Indies people proud again. Phil had to go. There's no doubt about it. It's international sport. Playing international sport is about results. There's no half measures about it. Right. And we got to face the facts that over the period of the build-up to the World Cup, we weren't playing well. We did it very, very poorly at the last World Cup just a year ago. And we have to make some changes. I don't think there's a case where we put in blame on just Phil. It must be a full analysis of the system. The system has not been producing quality cricketers. And we've had many coaches. You go back to the Otis Gibsons, and you come out today, you had Dyson, Coach Dyson, John Dyson, I think his name was. You had Richard Pybus. Different coaches, but not much improvement. So it's not a coaching problem alone. I think it's a player problem, because I think the players got to own up to their responsibilities. And the system itself just isn't producing the quality cricketers. So right. As we look forward, we're not just looking at who will be the next coach, but how do we address the systematic challenges in our pipeline.
Any names come to mind for you who could probably foot the bill and fit in as a West Indies coach in now building out a new T20 team and the other Test and one-day sides as well?
I'm going to answer that in a couple of ways. First thing, I'm a believer that due to the dynamics of West Indies cricket, with our islands scattered and so forth, we probably have to look at having the separation of the white ball and red ball cricket so that there is greater concentration of effort in both disciplines. So probably looking, if I had to make a call, at a red ball coach and possibly a white ball coach too as well. There are some capable candidates out there. You look at Australia. We just had someone like Justin Langer, who took Australian cricket at a very very low point, and he showed a strength of character in putting Australia back on a strong plane within a relatively short time. So he is a guy who's probably understands international cricket. He comes in with a level of experience and so forth. I know we are very, very much the people that believe that we can only have homegrown solutions. But if you can look outside, he's a possible person. With support of someone, say I know we had Floyd Reefer. Floyd Reefer has been in and around West Indies cricket too as well. Interesting to see what role he can play. As I said, if you're having a two-coach system, maybe he could fit in one of the disciplines. Interesting to see Courtney Walsh, the role that he's been playing with the ladies. Not strong results as yet, but here's a legend who's building up his resume. So I expect that we will go through a strong recruitment system, but we first must understand what we're looking for, so that is a clear mandate given to the new coach.
Indeed, it's something like what England has done, having two coaches, one red ball, one white ball, and a real separation of the team and most of the players, and they have been getting good results as well. So we'll take a break here, but when we come back, we will continue to talk about what we can do to lift West Indies cricket back up to the standard or somewhere close to where it was in the glory days. We'll get some answers after the break. So tonight we have on with us former West Indies all-rounder Ian Bradshaw. I'm trying to bowl some in-swingers there, and he's facing and putting us straight back to all of them pretty well. We have a caller on the line. Let's see what they have for us. Good night, caller. Welcome to the final score. What's your question
good night to you,
or your comment?
Ian.
Good night.
Good night to you.
I don't agree with this thing. Well, we have cricketers playing ruling West Indies cricket for 15 years. The ball, they one color. I don't feel they got nothing to do with the white. So they're supposed to get a green ball. Now they're going to get caught for a green ball. I don't agree with that. If you're a batsman, the ball shouldn't really matter. And I keep saying that all the time. And another thing that had me puzzled, that when West Indies was doing well, we didn't really need no sports psychologist. And we have Rudy Webster. Now we have some people that ain't doing that, and we don't have a sports psychologist. I don't think the ball is matter to our batsmen. Whether we play a white or a white ball, it's the same thing. If you get a green ball, now you're going to get a court for a green ball. I know, Sir Sears.
Ian, well,
Well, Shane, you know, I appreciate the caller's opinion, and let me just clarify something. I just want to give caller an assurance. Look, a good cricketer is a good cricketer, and if you look at most of the top teams in the world, you will tend to find that there are the similar players playing in all the formats. But what you have to realize with West Indies cricket is that we've not built up a strong enough cadre of players that can come into West Indies cricket and perform at the international level. So it's important that we have a coaching system that gives particular emphasis to the particular skills that are needed for the different types of cricket. Because you take someone like a Craig Brathwaite right now, who's involved in red ball cricket, a Jermaine Blackwood, and some of those people. What are they doing outside of the Test cricket arena? I think that in many other countries, those top players in that discipline can go back into a system where there is specific emphasis on those red ball skills, so that when they come back, they are coming back ready to perform at international level. You're finding situations right now where a lot of our players are coming back into national cricket, and you can see that they're short of work. And because international cricket right now is played with such short series, you don't have time to get into a series. You got to hit the ground running. And I want my best coach working year round with my best players, regardless of the discipline.
On that note, Ian, what are your thoughts on the Test team? Because Phil says he wants to stick around for at least the Test series, to continue on the growth that they have made. Give me your take on the performances of the red ball team now, captained by Craig Brathwaite.
Well, let me first of all say I think Craig has done a magnificent job. It is clear that his management skills have been strong. You can see a team that's grown in confidence. And while we are still to tackle some of the big names in international cricket, the signs are there that our teams batting longer, they're performing better as a unit. So I'm going to take my hat off to Craig and the coaching staff of the red ball team. What I will say that we will have a significant test in this away series in Australia, and that will give us a good gauge on how the red ball team has progressed, because Australia is one of the most difficult places to go and play cricket. But you are seeing with the red ball team progression. You're seeing with the red ball team a sense of stability, and that frankly is what has not happened with our T20 team. Going into the T20 World Cup, we weren't sure who was going to open the batting. Actually, in the last game that we played four opening batsmen, and before the game, no one knew who would open. So you need international cricket a level of consistency and stability, and I think that the improvements that you're seeing in the Test team is because that we're having a far more settled unit. Guys have role clarity, and that's very, very important in a team dynamic.
Interesting you mentioned that too. One player that stands out who's playing all the formats is Kyle Mears. He's seen as that all-rounder that can take either team, the red ball, white ball team, to that next level. What would you do specifically with a Kyle Mears to help him to understand that he is a really, really good player and he can take his skills to the next level?
Well, we saw a similar situation with someone like Jason Holder. And what a success Jason has been for us. And someone like Kyle, who's now starting their career, he has to now be given a chance to understand the roles that he has to play. Where there's great expectation, there always that additional pressure. And it's important that we let Kyle understand his responsibility to West Indies cricket, his responsibility to preparation, because he'll find himself playing cricket almost year round. And you understand that there are not many players right now internationally that can consistently play all three formats.
Yeah.
So we got to give Kyle the opportunity to understand his role, understand the importance of preparation and fitness, and then be able to not carry that fear of failure, because you will fail at some stage, and it's important that he can transition away from those failures. And when he finds form, keep it for as long as possible,
You're
regardless
right.
of the format.
That's what we want to see when this Australia Test Series starts. We have another caller on the line. Good night. Welcome to the final score. What do you have for us?
Yes, good night to you and your panelists. What I want to say is that I think that what we need to do, and it hurts me to say it, is that I believe that we need to go to Australia and really examine their system of cricket, because I believe that they have the ideal system. Australia do not fall below number 3 or number 4 in the world in cricket at all. And somehow they have the ability to bounce back. We don't. Our cricket keeps going down and down and down and down.
Well, thank you, caller, for your comment. And I think the caller's comment does have some merit. It's a cultural thing, though. I think when you see an Australian player, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, Ian, they're all about cricket. Their minds, their mentality, their life is built around cricket, not so for the West Indian players.
Yeah, well, you got to understand what sports means to Australia on a national basis, and the pride that they take in representing their country in whatever sport. And the government does play a significant role in supporting sport in Australia, not just at an international level, but very much so at a grassroots level. And there's heavy investment in young players, regardless of the sport. And that's what has sadly been lacking here with sport in general. You know, there's been a lot of lip service when it comes to sport. Look at our national stadium. For so long, we've been out the national stadium. That couldn't happen in most places in the world where there's a commitment to sport and using sport as a vehicle to improve the lives and the well-being of the people. So I would want to see, if we're going to look at Australia and countries of that nature who've done well internationally, understand that their focus or their success hasn't been built on simply focusing on the international level, but putting the foundation in place, investing in grassroots activities, so that there's that consistent pipeline of talent.
Right. Well, Ian, I really want to thank you for spending some time with us and sharing your thoughts on the way up and on for the West Indies, and we're wishing them well as they go on with the Test Series. I see some comments here coming in from WhatsApp saying Puran and Estwick need to go as well, and that, you know, we should look at targets like Brian Lara and Curtly Ambrose possibly to coach the team. But these are things that we will debate in future episodes right here on Final Score. Thank you so much, Ian. Good seeing you.
Absolute pleasure, Shane. All the best.
Yeah, I appreciate your time. Up next on Final Score, we'll talk some netball. Can the Bajan Gems do well as they do regionally on the international stage? We'll find out. Up next on Final Score. Let's switch our focus to netball now, and the national netball team recently came back from a successful championship qualifier in Jamaica. With us live now is the president of the Netball Association, Nisha Craigwell, and team goal shooter Faye Sealy, who also plays goalkeeper. Good to have both of you on the final score. So let's talk netball now. The qualifiers, they happened. We were successful and we are ready to take on the rest of the world in the World Championships. Nisha, I want to know, how would you rate the performance of the Beijing Gems during these qualifiers, and why does there seem to be a disconnect with our regional performances and our international performances?
Having me, Shane. And I would say that in Jamaica, I would rate it as improved. That's the word that I would like to use when I do a comparison with where we were in November last year when we journeyed to Scotland, where we were when we went in February to the OECS Championship in Dominica, again at Commonwealth, and now in Jamaica. So I would say that we have improved.
Improving is good. Let's talk to your goalkeeper slash goal shooter as well, Faye Sealy. Get her in here because, so you're on the court. I watched that game versus Trinidad, that one which we lost, and I was a bit concerned about the efficiency and about the level of physical activity. Talk to me about what goes into these preparations. Are we as prepared in terms of physical training, etc., as we should be? And really what happened in that Trinidad game?
Well, in the Trinidad game, we tried very hard with our preparations, and we believe physically we are on the same level because we have gym. We have the gym work. We do our normal training before practice, and we work on our fitness and the strength of the team. So it was just a few turnovers that should not have been made that happened at critical times, and that is where our downfall was in that.
So I remember the Commonwealth Games now, and I really want to know, we perform so well in the region, we dominate, we make our presence felt. Then we go to those international games, we don't do the same. It's not a similar transition. What happens? And Faye, you can answer me first. Give me your take, and then you, Nisha.
Well, mostly when we go to the international competitions, a lot of the teams that we play have players on it that play netball professionally. So netball is their job. They're paid to play netball. When we get to that level, as you know, we consider ourselves technically volunteers because we all have jobs and some have family, children, we have schools, we have to split our focus. So when we come up against the international competition, that is where we would find a downfall a lot of the times in comparison because we aren't exposed to that level on a consistent basis the way they are.
So Nisha, what will we do about that? How do we get our players into that system where we have more professional players, we have that group forming or team, and the Beijing Gems do a whole lot better on the international level? What needs to be done to get to that level?
The key for us is to get our players in the top 10. We're currently ranked 14th in the world, and scouts look for our players in the top 10 countries in the world. So if we improve on our ranking, that will only happen if we play, as Faye was saying, more consistently. We need to have international competition not only when we're actually on the international scene as it relates to Commonwealth and World Cup. What we need is to be consistently playing teams that are ranked higher than us. That's the only way that we're going to get better. So for us to just play once a year, twice a year, it really is not cutting it for us. We really need to get our players out there playing in Australia and New Zealand and England, where there are international leagues, competitive leagues that they can consistently be playing with a high intensity.
And I know we're only now getting back out there really as we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes. Are you getting the level of investment that you want in the sport here?
We have the support of the government of Barbados, and we do have the support of the Barbados Olympic Association. Where we fall down is as it relates to sponsorship. Some of our girls, when they go on national duty, they need to take no pay leave. So that would tell you the condition that we're in as it relates to how we treat sports in Barbados. Our players need to be consistently in the gym, and thanks to the National Sports Council, we now have a gym that we can go into. Outside of that, we would have to use private gyms where obviously there's a cost. We are a non-profit organization, so For us to improve, we also need to have the finances really put into the sport so that we can really invest in our players in a meaningful way. Outside of that, we also need to look at things like sports psychologists that, comes with a cost.
And I see a WhatsApp question here along the same lines as we opened our discussion. Why are we not catching up to Trinidad and Jamaica?
Yeah, so
Well,
Trinidad and
again,
Jamaica
that
both
comes back.
have
Sorry, go
professional
on.
players. If you look at the team that went to Commonwealth Games for Jamaica, they had 7 professional players. Trinidad had 3. Barbados had 0. So
Wow.
again, we are in a different league when we go to the international scene. As a matter of fact, at Commonwealth Games, Barbados was the only team that did not have any professional players on its roster.
Listen, I'm wishing you all up and on as well. All the best with your future endeavors, and keep in touch. Let us know what you're doing, and of course we want to know how we can help as well, support the netball team. Thank you, Faith. Thank you, Nisha. That's all the time we have for now, but there's a lot more to come. Of course, we'll take a quick break and come back and wrap up this edition of The Final Score.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In our final 60, a reminder that the Cricket World Cup, the CWI Super 50, EPL, NBA, and NFL are among some of the sports which are on MCTV's various sports channels. First up at 4 a.m. is T20 World Cup action. The undefeated New Zealand team, the Black Caps, versus Sri Lanka. That's on ESPN channel 308. So all of the sports, where you can find them right here with us on CBC's MCTV. That's it for the final score. I'm Faye Sealy. On behalf of the team, it's good night until next Friday.